Listen, you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of your favorite podcast entitled We Hate You, Internet!
Say that, like, I think that women are wrong for, I guess, or these groups are wrong for villainizing men. No, some men need to be villainized.
Okay.
Some men are committing criminal acts. Some men want to commit criminal acts and not face any repercussions for that. Some that happens on a way larger scale and has been accepted for so long that I don't think people see it as an issue when it really is.
Mm-hmm. So you're discussing power dynamics. I agree that the abuse of power is a problem. It has always been a problem. And it's something that will always be a problem if we're just being honest, because that's the nature of power. If people possess power, there's always going to be the temptation to exert that power. Male or female, it doesn't really matter. I want to address some of the things you said, I'm gonna start off the top and be like, I don't disagree with the points that you've made and the feelings that are associated with those points, right? I think that men and women should have a right as human beings to have autonomy to a certain extent over their actions as an individual. I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. Because each of us as individuals are also members of society. And the things that you do also impact the society around you. Now, in light of some of the stuff that you mentioned, like, well, the husband stitch, right? Like, for him to be able to make that kind of decision for a grown woman is pretty crazy. I don't think that that's
and
something
it's real.
I don't deny it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that that's right, because that's her body. She should at least be consulted and be like, hey, y'all, this is something that's an option. Y'all can discuss it and say what y'all want to do. You see what I'm saying? Ultimately, like, if it's her body, then she should have a right to be able to say, well, I don't want that. And that's between her and her husband. If she says she don't want it, then y'all can work that out. You know what I'm saying? But for a husband to make that kind of decision, that's pretty crazy. I've never heard of it before, but I'm not denying it. And I think that's pretty wild and crazy. You see what I'm saying? The miscarriage thing is pretty wild. The birth control thing, like, I think that that's an issue that's very difficult, being honest, right? Because promiscuity is a problem.
But see, that's another issue. Birth control is not always for sex, though.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay, cool.
Women who have hormonal issues take birth control to balance their hormones.
Indeed. So then it's prescription.
It can be, yes.
Yeah. So then they're being issued it by a doctor for medicinal purposes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not sure of all the legalities of that as far as that's concerned. If they want, but if you're being prescribed something for medicinal purposes, then that's what it is. You see
but
what
that's
I'm saying?
not how lawmakers view it, and that's the issue.
Well, like I said,
That's what I meant when I was highlighting it. Is that we have people in power who have sexist opinions, and they're making decisions to control our body, and they don't even have all the facts.
Yeah.
Because of their biases, they're able to say, no, we don't think you should have birth control because of promiscuity. When in reality, women will take birth control also because of their hormonal imbalances.
Okay. Well, okay. What I will say, going back to the point that I made, I'll address that too. We don't have to start trying to find a landing spot. Okay. So, like, when you talk about birth control, the far majority of people that are taking birth control, or the primary reason for birth control,
I would have to look at the statistics in order to give you a true answer.
I can already tell you off the rip, it's going to be it's the prevention of pregnancy. Like, that is the number one reason why people take birth control. That's why it's called birth control, because you're trying to control birth. That's what it is. And, like, I'm not, like, knocking it. There are people that are married that use birth control. Cool, because they don't want to have no kids. Cool, I ain't tripping. Like, That's cool. My point is that as an individual, you should have rights over the autonomy of your body. However, you are also a member of society, and there have to be rules that are put in place that are to govern societal behavior, because your actions don't just affect you. They affect everybody else around you. What you do in your privacy, your home, or whatever the case may be. And I'm just saying, I'm not talking about just birth control exclusively. I'm proving the point that I'm making, period, right? Is that everybody can't just do whatever they want to do. There's this idea, and hold on, give me a second. This idea, and I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but I'm saying this is the idea that becomes prevalent when you don't consider all factors, and you're imbalanced in your pursuit for balance. You become imbalanced in your thought process. This is the result. You don't consider the fact that, is there any time where an individual's actions will be a detriment to the society that's around them? You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to follow, but
okay.
How does this tie?
It ties like this, because if we say everybody can do whatever they want whenever they want, and I know that's not what you're saying, but that's how this idea, without any parameters, without any kind of handles on stuff, that's what it becomes. People should be able to do what they want to do whenever they want. Okay? If people do anything they want whenever they want, will it become a detriment to society? Can their behavior become a detriment to society?
You say people, right?
Individuals, yes.
So then why are women the only ones paying for it?
Okay. So I'll address that, but I'm establishing a point before we deal with that, because it's not about it's not about male or female.
But women are the ones that are.
I get what you're saying. But you're looking at it from the perspective of male and female.
I'm looking at it from law, history, and what I see in the real world.
Cool. So all laws are not gender specific.
Except for abortion and reproductive, right?
Yeah, because you're talking about a female.
Yeah.
I'm with you. The point that I'm not addressing birth control and the legalities of reproduction exclusively when I'm talking about this. I'm talking about letting there be parameters when you're discussing the liberties of individuals. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that then all these rules are put in place because they need to make sure that I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that certain rules and parameters are put in place not because the far majority of people are for the minority of individuals that will be affected. Any law, any rule that's put in place, there's somebody that's going to be affected by it, that's in it, that's collateral damage. Because once again, as we start from the top of this discussion, everybody's different. Because everybody's different, there is no such thing as a cookie cut anything in our society. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be collateral damage. Somebody's always going to fall through the cracks. Always. There will never be any rule, anything that's put in place in a society as complex as ours that it covers everybody and everybody's cool with it. That does not exist. And so that is a fact. So you have to take that into consideration when you having arguments or discussions about anything, right? Because you can't say, well, we're making rules that everybody's going to be happy with. It'll never happen. Somebody's going to have to lose. So now we have to figure out who's going to lose, how many people that is going to lose, right? How can we minimize the damage of those who lose as much as we can? But the one thing we cannot deny is that somebody's going to have to lose. And so going right back. So now I'm backstepping. Boom. Wages, right? And this is triggering, right? But it's legitimate. It just is what it is, right? You say wages, how to determine? Market and employer, what you willing to pay, and then what other people are willing to pay for this service. Male or female is irrelevant. Now, you say, well, then women are paid less. I don't deny that. Do I think it's right? No. If they able to do the job effectively, or if they're the best at that job, then they should get paid the most. Then it's a competition, right? Because the market determines. If you say, hey, well, listen, you don't want to pay me, I'll go over this place, and they pay me, this is what I can do, this is what it is. And at the end of the day, I'm making you money. So either I'm going to make you money or I'm going to go make somebody else money. That's just what it is. We've talked about in private, as far as establishing value and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And how you have to be able to leverage the value that you create in your employment situations. People that are like, more white collar jobs, they understand that. They call it negotiating their contracts and their salaries, because they understand I'm bringing value to this company based on my years of experience or blah, 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 my association, my network, whatever the case may be. And so this is what I want to be paid as a result of the value that I'm bringing to your company. And like, this is something that blue collar workers and people that are a little more low income don't understand that concept. But it's irrelevant at what level that you are. Like, you're bringing a certain level of value, and you have to determine determine how much value that you're bringing, and then you have to know how to be able to negotiate that value. Now, with all that being said, right, a woman comes with a certain biological liabilities.
What, like giving birth?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Listen. I can say, I'm gonna let you talk too. I see the nostrils flared. Listen, a woman. Okay, the only way that you're gonna. Okay, boom. I'm gonna lay like this. I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna let you have the last say, and then we're gonna wrap it up because we already ran way over. Right? Okay, here we go. Population is important for society. Yes. Okay, you have to. If your society is not reproducing, then your society will die.
Correct, I think so.
If you don't have a new generation coming into society, your society will crumble, because your younger generation has to support the older. That's the only way your society will continue. That's the reason why people are talking about population, and like, it's going to become a problem in the next 20, 30 years for sure, because people haven't been having children and generation. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic for another day, right? The only way you're going to have children is if women give birth to them. Period. For a woman to give birth, she goes through a 9.5, 10 month gestation period. You know what I'm saying? Of which she gains a lot of weight and stress on her body. Everybody not created equal. Some people have to be like bedridden and stuff in order to maintain their pregnancy, or they'll lose it. You know what I'm saying? I know that for a fact. All this is, I'm saying, and I'm not saying all this to try to knock women and be like, oh man, women don't deserve. I'm not. I'm just talking about the facts. You see what I'm saying? And then when she has this child, she has to have some time to recuperate. It's a must. And there's no one else better suited to care for this child than the mother. Unless they have some type of biological issue. But at the end of the day, biologically, the best individual on the planet that's suited for the child that she gave birth for is the mother of that child. You see what I'm saying? All that, and like, it can be viewed as insensitive. I get it. And I'm a person that will always say, like, life isn't always perfect. I don't agree with a lot of different things, but that don't mean that like it's not a real issue that you got to address and deal with. Like, this is a fact, so you have to like deal with the facts. They may make you feel uncomfortable, but you got to deal with the facts. You can't just skirt around the facts just because you don't like them. You got to deal with them. It is what it is. I deal with that when I'm talking about black issues, when I'm talking about fatherhood issues, when we're talking about single motherhood, we talking about all this kind of stuff. Like, coming broken families. Like, I come from broken family, so like, it's sensitive, but like, these are the facts. This is the reality of the situation. Your emotions and how you feel about it are irrelevant when you start talking about what things are and what things are not. Final point, and I'm done, and I'm gonna let you have the flow. Right? Like, a man doesn't have those liabilities. He never will.
I agree 100%.
He never will. When you're talking about productivity, a man biologically can be more productive than a woman can, for those very reasons.
Because he's not busy raising a life and bringing another human into the world.
Because of the necessity of the continuation of society and the role that female plays in that process. The male does not play that part.
And is that not productive though?
Of course it is. But when you're talking about an employee like a job, that's not the reason why they're in business. They're in business to accomplish.
But they're concerned though over the declining population rate, correct?
Indeed.
Okay.
But they should be, because ultimately you need customers for your products,
and
right?
employees, right?
And that's absolutely right? And I think that's a valid point. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a valid point. However, if we're talking about day to day, I can be worried about 20 years from now, but we're gonna go out of business next year. So that ain't my concern. My concern is making sure we have the production today. You see what I'm saying? And if you had that child today, that child is no good to me as a business until they become of purchasing age or working age, one or the other. So like, and my company got to make it that far. These are the real things like that people deal with. When a person has a business, like these are the decisions that they have to make. These are the things that they have to consider in order for their business to continue to function. As employees, employees don't understand the mentality and the challenges of the employer. They look at things purely from the employee perspective. I'm not getting paid enough. They always making me do this and they always making me do that, blah, 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 blah. And they don't understand why those things, sometimes they don't understand. And sometimes it's exploitation, like definitely, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying, it's not absolutes. Sometimes it is straight up exploitation. They just robbing people, they getting over people, they ripping people off. Definitely true. But sometimes it's a matter of necessity. Sometimes it's like, yo, in order for us to keep in business, this is what got to happen. Because this was the bottom line looking at, it ain't looking good. We spending this, we spending that, we didn't make enough money on this end, that end. This deal fell through. Our partnership with these people have been terminated, blah, 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 blah. We got to make some adjustments to be able to keep ourselves in business and keep you with a job. Or I got to start laying off, whatever. Like, I got to lay off 100 people to keep these other 500 employed. Or we going to all go out of business. These are the decisions that are made. These are the facts. And so I'm saying all of that to come back to the point, right? And listen, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got a wife, I got a child, I have a daughter. And like, I'm not like, I don't hate on women. I don't feel like women need to get in their place and get in the kitchen. I don't think like that. I don't function like that. My thing is like, yo, every individual be judged based on their own merit. That's my thought process. That's how I feel about stuff. I don't care about male and female like that. You know what I'm saying? But like, you got to deal with all the facts. You got to look at it and say, okay, if you want to make an argument about the equality of something, then you have to take all the facts into consideration when you're formulating your argument. That's my point. And to try to sidestep a point because you don't like it or it doesn't fit your narrative, you see what I'm saying? I think you do yourself a disservice. I think you do a disservice to those who want to understand your points. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, it does society a disservice because then your approach to the problem is not balanced. It's imbalanced. And imbalance always creates chaos. I'll tell my kids, and I'm done. In anything and everything that you do in your life, you should look for balance. You look for the balance in anything and everything that you're doing because where balance is peace. Imbalance creates chaos. So marriage, job, hobby, relationship, whatever, always look for the balance in that situation because that's where the peace is. Nothing is perfect, but try your best always to be balanced in what it is that you're doing, your viewpoint of the situation. And you got to take all the facts, whether the ones you like, you don't like, you got to take all the stuff into consideration and then find the balance between all of that stuff and try to find some place where it's like, okay, I take all the points into consideration. This is what I think is the best course of action with this, or this is what I believe that is the fairest thing, blah, 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 blah. And at least you can start from there. But going off, being imbalanced, it only creates chaos. I'm done, go. Wrap it up.
So I'm gonna try to keep it short, but you keep saying that, we have to pay attention to all the facts. We have to pay attention to all the facts. But I don't think that we're doing that if we continue this narrative that people are working in their best, I guess, working with good intentions sometimes. Like when you were talking about the lawmakers and, some people have to lose and some people no, but this is what has to happen in order for the betterment of society. I think you completely ignore the biases that individuals in power have, and individuals who have a certain goal in mind. They feel a certain way over this marginalized group. Like, that's ignoring fact that there is bias, and they will behave in a way to express those biases. We have people in power who are racist, who are sexist, who I mean, shoot, they're even pedophiles sometimes, you know?
Very true.
Like, we have people in power who make decisions off their personal opinion, not for the betterment of society, like you say.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. And I'm also really glad that you're able to recognize and highlight the experience that women go through when they give birth and bring life into this world. And you're able to highlight how much work and how much energy and how much it really takes from a woman to do so. It even takes them getting paid equal as a man and even having opportunity to work as a man. That's how much women are sacrificing. And I think they recognize that, and that's exactly why more women are choosing not to have children. Because you have companies, like you just said, who and this is not my opinion, I heard this from someone else. They said, it is not that men are more logical than women, it's simply that they lack empathy. And that's it. They lack empathy. A person who is empathetic can recognize how much energy is going into this and still say, okay, well, I understand the situation and I can see how this would hold a person back, but we're still going to give this person a shot. We're still going to give them, equal pay because it is the right thing to do. That is an empathetic person. A person who is not empathetic will say, well, she's going to probably, we'll hire her, but then, she's single, she might get married, and then when she gets married, she's going to want to pop kids, and then we're going to go through this process again. That is a person who is not empathetic. And that is why we have the problems that we have. That is why that is one of the reasons why women do not want to have children. Because we are able to see with our own two eyes that we don't live in a world that is empathetic to those experiences. You said it yourself. A woman has to be vulnerable. They have to raise a life who will eventually become a necessary member of society, because why? Our society will crumble if it doesn't. But no one recognizes that until it comes down to, there's not enough population. No one recognizes that when it comes to pay, when it comes to, she's a single mom. She's the only one providing for her household. No one cares. No one cares when the woman gives birth because now she has to by law because she cannot have an abortion or a miscarriage. No one cares. And when that baby is born, when she can't afford diapers, when she can't afford baby formula because now it's like $80. It used to not be that much, but go on Amazon right now, see how much baby formula is. We don't live in a world that holds space for women, children, for the vulnerable. Okay, well, I'll say that because it's not just women and children. They don't hold space for the vulnerable. And then we're surprised with the sort of reaction we get. We are surprised. You shouldn't be surprised. You should expect it. I mean, beautifully said. Yes, birthing is a process. It is a journey, a beautiful one, but a difficult one. And we don't live in a world that can recognize that. Instead, you are faulted for that. Something that you cannot control because you were born being a woman, something that you were gifted, we'll say, right? We're going to use that language. You were gifted with, someone else is looking and saying, you're going to cost us too much. Rather get him. That's a problem. And if we cannot recognize that that's a problem, then we can't be surprised with the outcome we get. And I'll just say that.
To be continued. All right. That's it for today. That's it for today. As always, you know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate the discourse. I really do. Like I said, man,
I do too.
It's sticky, right? But I think that one of the things that we discussed before we launched this was like, we're going to have real conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we're going to show people how to have respectful dialogue. Just because you don't agree don't mean you have to be disrespectful and be like, and be like spiteful and attack other people's character and their integrity and all that kind of jazz. Like, it's a discussion. And we may end this discussion be like, on some points we don't agree, right? But at the end of the day, like, there's another day to have another discussion. There's other points that can be made. You make some valid points. Like, I'm like, and I can appreciate that because at the end of the day, I go back and I say, that's interesting. Because ultimately, and it's something that you and I both always agree on, is that we as human beings should always be solution-based. We should always try to look for solutions to problems, not just complain and be upset and angry. Like, what can we do about this? You know what I mean? And in order to find a solution that is best, you have to get all the various points of view, get all the facts and perspectives that you can gather, and then say, okay, with all of this information, we got to try to find and come up with the best solution. I always stand by the fact that the best solution won't be perfect. The best solution won't cover everybody. And I think that as a society, there'll always be ebb and flow. There'll always be give and take. There'll always be back and forth, right? Because some people that's left out are going to be like, hey, they're going to continue to fight for what they want, things of that nature, da-da-da-da-da. And as times change, things change, technology changes, society changes, evolves, grows, goes through different variations, blah, 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 then there may be a necessity of a change of a rule. You see what I'm saying? It's no different than in a house, and I'm done. I think I've said that already, right? In a home, you may establish rules for your children when they're young, but then they reach a certain age, and then you adjust those rules because the circumstances have changed. It's not that the first rules were bad, or maybe they were. Maybe you made those rules because you were afraid, and you had to realize, man, like that's not cool for me to hold them to that because of my fear. I need to lighten up and let them have space to move about. You know what I'm saying? You always say this. You know, we're always growing. As society, we're growing, we're evolving. You know what I'm saying? And people have to catch up with that growth, with those changes.
Yeah.
And then they have the adjustments that be made to perspectives and things of that nature, right? And this is how it's done, by listening with an attentive and open ear to opposite of,
opinions.
Yeah, exactly. Like opposite opinions, like, you know, differing. That's the word I was looking for. Different opinions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it raises questions or perspectives that you didn't consider in your thought process as you were coming to your conclusions. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, listen, there's a lot of stuff in this episode. I know you guys want to talk about. Leave that mess in the comment section. I don't play around. You know what I'm saying? We want to hear about it too. And maybe we'll pick it up another time down the road. We'll come back around to it. I mean, I think this is a conversation we can talk about forever. We may even invite some other folks on to join us in this joint. You know what I'm saying? As long as they're sensible. They control themselves. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to have the higher security. That's the episode for today. We'll leave you like we always do, asking that you stay safe,
Stay blessed.
and please stay human.
Stay human.
We out.